Mining has always been a very dangerous venture due to us humans being at the mercy of nature, especially when it comes to underground mining. From the ancient techniques used by the Romans and Egyptians to today's more modern approaches and safety measures, every year tragedy strikes and people sadly lose their lives. History is riddled with countless accidents, but today we are exploring the most tragic of them all, the Benxihu mining disaster in China. The accident happened in a coal mine located near Benxi Lake in an ore-rich region of eastern China. It was part of a coal and iron operation established there in the early 20th century as a joint Chinese and Japanese enterprise. This all changed, however, during the Sino-Japanese War at the onset of World War II. With the Japanese and Chinese now fighting against each other, the Japanese invaded the area at the end of the 1930s and captured many Chinese soldiers and civilians and immediately sent them to the coal mines. Here they were sentenced to forced labor. Conditions in the mines were deplorable. Food was scarce and the workers' clothing was in tatters. The flimsy shoes issued by the mines lasted less than 1 week. Diseases such as typhoid and cholera flourished in the camp. On top of this, the Japanese overseers were harsh disciplinarians. They used pick handles to force miners to their shafts. The mines were even surrounded by a guarded perimeter, which made the chances to escape slim to none. The accident happened 5 months after the Japanese had attacked Pearl Harbor in the United States. With the Allies now at war with the Japanese, their situation was very critical. They needed as many resources as they could in order to keep fighting on the front lines. One such resource was of course coal, with it being used to power locomotives, produce iron, steel, and electricity. This meant that the output that was demanded on these coal mines was at an all-time high, and safety measures were often neglected in order to meet the impossible, never-ending demand. Of course, the biggest threat a coal miner is subjected to is from an earthquake, which could destroy the mining shaft and leave the workers buried underground. The other, however, is an explosion caused by flammable gases, which are produced by byproduct of coal mining. It is believed that fire damp, an explosive gas made up of methane, is to blame for the tragedy at this Chinese coal mine. When mining bituminous coal, methane accumulates in pockets in the coal and surrounding strata. When the presence of methane in the air is between 5.4% and 14.8%, it forms an explosive mixture. On April 26, 1942, an unknown source ignited the gas and caused a massive explosion within the coal mine. The earth shook and the flame burst from the entrance. In the immediate aftermath, with authorities trying to control the area, guards were stationed at the shaft's entrance. The miners' relatives from the surrounding area rushed to the scene and were rebuffed by the guards, who soon erected an electric fence to keep unauthorized personnel away from the site. It took 10 days to dig up and clean out the shaft as corpses were carried out in carts to a mass grave. Many of the victims were burned beyond recognition. In an attempt to curtail the fire underground, the Japanese shut off the ventilation and sealed the pit head. Witnesses had stated that the Japanese had not fully evacuated the pit before sealing it, trapping many Chinese workers underground to suffocate in the smoke. After the disaster, the mine continued to be operated by the Japanese until August 1945, when the Chinese miners took control of the site following the Japanese surrender in World War II. The Japanese had at first reported the death toll to be 34, as initial newspaper reports were short, as few as 40 words, and downplayed the scale of the disaster, characterizing it as a minor event. After the war, however, the Japanese erected a monument to the dead. The stone stated that the number of deceased was 1,327, although the true number is believed to be 1,549, which accounts to 34% of the miners working on that day. It was the worst disaster in the history of coal mining and the second worst recorded industrial accident. Of this number, 31 fatalities were Japanese, and the remaining 1,518 were Chinese. They found that only some of the workers had died directly from the gas and coal dust explosion. Most deaths were from carbon monoxide poisoning produced when the Japanese closed the ventilation and sealed the pit head after the initial explosion. The Japanese Mining Corporation was held responsible for the explosion due to the deplorable conditions at the mining site, although the exact punishment they received is unclear, if any. With that, we conclude today's video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please consider subscribing, and we will see you in the next one.